Hello everyone and welcome to a new edition of Women's World. Today is going to be a very special edition because this is the last edition in 2015. We promise you a lot of surprises today. Just wait for us. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back. Well, as I mentioned earlier, today is going to be full of surprises because we are celebrating the last edition of the program in 2015, also celebrating the Christmas, the New Year, and also Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him's birth. So we are celebrating various occasions together, and we want to share with you our celebrations. So today we'll be hosting some of the prominent women that we hosted this year in 2015. We'll be having with us Nesreen, Deen, independent training consultant, Iman Alewa, motivational poet, Radha Gohari, radio presenter and translator, and Magda Al-Kholi, accessories designer. Also, another surprise is that we will be having a female Tanura dancer, and this is something new for us because we are used to having men Tanura dancers. Today we'll be having here in the studio Hana. She is a female Tanura dancer, and also Mariam, a very prominent singer, and we'll be listening to some of her songs right after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now we have with us here in the studio Mariam, who came to share the celebration with us and sing some of her songs with us. Good to have you with us, Mariam. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Mariam, if you allow us, we can listen to some of your music.
Okay.
Okay, and now before you start singing, I would like to ask you, when did you start singing?
سمع أي حاجة. مش سامعة.
When did you start singing?
طيب. ما أنا مش سامعة.
Okay, you can just start singing.
Okay.
Okay, start singing.
طيب okay.
Welcome back. You're still watching this very special edition of Women's World, and today we will be hosting, as I mentioned earlier, Nesreen Deen, independent training consultant. Good to have you with us, Nesreen.
Thank you. Same to me.
And Magda Al-Khouli, accessories designer. Good to have you with us, Magda.
Me too. Thank you, Hala.
And Iman Aliwa, she is a motivational poet, as she likes to describe herself. Good to have you with us, Iman.
Thank you, the very same. Thank you.
And my dear colleague, Rada Gohari, she is a radio presenter and a translator as well. Good to have you with us, Rada. And Mariam, she is a singer. You heard her earlier. Now we're going to go to a short break. Then we'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, Iman, you described yourself as a motivational poet. So, yes, how do you describe yourself that way, and why?
Motivational because I like to write about positivity, generally speaking. No matter how a certain situation looks, not very positive.
How was 2015 for you?
Totally, generally speaking, very good. Alhamdulillah.
Okay.
The way, alhamdulillah, the way it started is totally different than the way it did end. It was very fruitful. Now it is very fruitful. Lots of I's have been firmly dotted. They needed to be dotted. So the infrastructure is way better. Consequently, the upcoming year, inshallah, I expect it to be very fruitful.
So you feel a lot of optimism for 2016?
Indeed, very much, inshallah.
Okay, so you wrote something.
A short one and a long one. A short one.
Yes.
Well, we're having some red roses with us today. Generally speaking, I adore roses. I love roses, and I do believe in their power. So I just wrote
got red roses for all of us.
Yes, just for short lines. I was talking to one of them actually. How magnificent is your power, mighty flower, white, pink, red, briefly of any color. If lovingly offered to families, friends, and surely among lovers, how would the scent of this word be like in less than a single hour?
That's nice. That's nice. Okay,
I was talking to one of them actually.
Yes, well, you're a poet. It's acceptable. Okay, now to you, Nesreen, before I move to Magda, because Magda, prepare yourself. I have a very important question for you because you deal with stones, and I need to connect stones with, what's going on in the new year and so on. So, but I'd like to go to Nesreen Nasr. You are an independent consultant, and before we went on air, you said that 2015 there were ups and downs, especially by the end of the year, and then you had like a self-talk with yourself, and you decided to put everything together. How was it for you?
Yes, well, I would say that it was really a very special year. For me, actually, I embarked on materializing on so many plans. Literally speaking, I'm in the process of writing a book. And
congratulations.
Yes, I'm done with the drafts, and I'm basically looking for a publisher at the moment.
Okay.
So I would say that this was basically my biggest achievement in 2015. At a personal level, well, as I was probably mentioning to you, Hala, it was a sort of a very inspiring year because I've started to think a lot about things in my life. For example, how do we lead our life? Where do our careers would take us, and how to lead a healthier life, a happier life.
Yes.
So all these questions were actually on my mind this year.
Perhaps,
And,
yes. All of us.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And I think this would get us initiated
Yes.
in 2016 in a different way, probably.
Well, inshallah, hopefully now. Magda, you are an accessories designer and you deal with stones.
Yep.
And we all know that stones have some special effects on us, on the mood, on how we feel. So how was the year for you?
Well, for me, I always like to deal with all the things, the materials that give the positive energy.
Yes.
As you all know, that silver gives you, take all the positive energy towards you and then repel the negative energy. And this is one item. Imagine that I mix the colors with the silver. So I always like to, for example, use these tones that makes you elegant, happy, all this latest impression. For example, if we can see this rose, it's makes you full of love, spread the. Oh, yes, we have
I
to.
love that. Okay.
Yes, because I always like to give this latest impression, and I have this time of the year an incredible variety of designs, which gives you this feeling of happy and full of positive things.
Well, that's great. That's great.
Thank you.
And well, I wish you best of luck in
Thank you.
in 2016. I am sure that you have beautiful designs and your choices of colors, and they are very personalized, if I may say so.
Exactly. Thank you, Hannah.
Best of
Thank you
luck.
so much.
Now, Rada, you are a radio presenter and you are a translator, and perhaps we were celebrating Translators Day.
My first book.
Yes, earlier. So tell me about your highlights of 2015 and your hopes for 2016.
We, of course, we had ups and downs, as Nesreen said.
Of course, yes.
But I would like to forget all frustrating things and new beginnings, fresh starts, reaffirmation of love and promises for a brighter future. This is what I feel. I told you last year about my second book.
Yes.
I have already translated it, but it has not been printed yet.
Congratulations, Rada.
By Mr. Mahfouz Abdurrahman, A Party on the Stake,
Yes.
حفلة على الخازوق.
Yes.
Inshallah, I hope it will be very soon printed, and I'll make the book signing. Inshallah.
You also got a chance, because you are already presenter, to interview some celebrities in
Yes.
2015.
Yes.
So how was it for you?
Inshallah, on January 5th, 2016. This is my first interview in the new year. Some celebrities will come, inshallah, like Magid al-Masri, like Madame Samira Abdelaziz, يعني محمد محسن.
Yes.
يعني some of young people and some of
The old generation.
the old generation, yes.
Best of luck in 2016, Rada. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this year Muslims and Copts are celebrating the Christmas and Prophet Muhammad's birth, peace be upon him. So, Al-Mawlid al-Nabawi and the Christmas together, this is the first time in almost 33 years, if I'm correct. So, today we are also sharing with you our celebrations of Al-Mawlid al-Nabawi, but this time with something new. We decided to bring you a Tanura dance in celebration of Prophet Muhammad's birth, and the new thing about this Tanura dance is that it is performed Welcome back. Now, as we promised earlier, today is going to be a very special performance by a female Tannoura dancer, Hannah, and she decided that she wants to challenge men in this art, and she is with us celebrating this very special edition of the program. Now, we're going to watch her profile, and we'll be right back to watch her performance. Stay with us. That was amazing. That was amazing. Unfortunately, our time is up, and we have to say goodbye now. But before I go, let me thank all of you and thank my dear guests today. But before we go, let's just take a short break, and we'll be right back before we say goodbye. Now we are sharing our celebrations with you, so we decided to bring a cake and celebrate with you. Well, we will eat the cake, but before we go, allow me to thank all of you and thank the crew of this program. Thank my dear guests today, Nesreen Nasruddin, Magda Al-Khouli,
Thank you, Heba.
Iman Aliwa, Rada Gohari, Mariam the singer, and all of you, wishing you a very happy 2016 from all of us, from all the crew of Women's World, wishing you the best, and goodbye for now. Bye-bye. The hour's top stories with me, Al Hamalawi. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi asserted that the country is pushing forward the developmental projects in the Sinai Peninsula to improve the economic and social situations for the peninsula's residents. He also said that these projects will benefit the country at large as it contribute in curbing unemployment in Sinai and the whole country and contributed to the efforts of combating terrorism. This came in President al-Sisi's visit to the premises of the Armed Forces National Services Projects apparatus. The president was accompanied by Defense Minister Sidi Subhi and General Mustafa Amin, the head of the apparatus. During his visit, he announced a cooperation agreement between the Egypt-Sinai Industrial Development and Investment Company and the Armed Forces to detect and extract marble in Sinai with the goal of establishing 4 industrial complexes. Three-way talks between Egypt, Sudan and Ethiopia on the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam continued on Monday in the Sudanese capital Khartoum. The talks, which bring together foreign ministers and ministers of irrigation from the 3 countries, started on Sunday. During the meeting, Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri asserted that the Declaration of Principles, which was signed by the leaders of the 3 countries last March, had built a strong strategic relationship between the 3 sides. Meanwhile, the Ethiopian Foreign Minister Tawadros Adhanom stated that his country was fully committed to the Declaration of Principles. Iraqi forces swept the devastated streets of Ramadi for bombs on Monday after recapturing the city they lost in May and clinching a major victory against the Daesh terrorist group. Pockets of militants may remain in parts of the city, but the army said that it had faced no resistance since Daesh abandoned the Flashpoint government complex on Sunday. Iraqis celebrated the streets of several cities late on Sunday, and officials congratulated the federal forces on their biggest victory since the militants overran large parts of the country last year. Officials from Anbar province, of which Ramadi is the capital, said that the security forces now control all the streets, adding that there is no resistance from Daesh. The former government headquarters in Ramadi was the epicenter of the fighting, but Iraqi forces did not rush in when Daesh pulled out because the entire area was rigged. Anbar residents account for more than a third of the 3.2 million people who have been displaced by conflict since the start of 2014. At least 32 people were killed and 90 wounded in 2 bomb explosions in the Syrian city of Homs on Monday. The blast, one from a car bomb and another from a suicide attack, struck the Zahra district in the middle of the city. It was the second major attack in the city since a ceasefire deal between warring sides took effect earlier this month, paving the way for the government to take over the last rebel-controlled area of Homs. More than 250,000 people have been killed in Syria's war, which began in 2011. The evacuation of more than 450 fighters and civilians, including wounded, started on Monday from the Syrian towns under a rare deal between the Syrian government and the rebels. In September, both sides reached an agreement for a 6-month truce in Zabadani, the last rebel bastion on Syria's border with Lebanon, and in Fiwa and Kafaraya, the last 2 government-held villages in northwestern Idlib. The UN brokered deal provided for a ceasefire to allow humanitarian aid and then for the evacuation of wounded civilians and fighters. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said that more than 120 fighters have been wounded and started to leave Zabadani to other rebel-held areas in Syria through Lebanon and Turkey. Those evacuated will travel to Turkey through the Syrian-Turkish border post of Al-Hawa before flying to Beirut airport, then traveling overland to Damascus. Those were the hour's top stories. I'm Al Hamalawi. Thank you very much for being with us. Do join us again at 3 p.m. Cairo local time for a new edition of Panorama News, where we bring you the latest in politics, business, and sports. Till then.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new edition of Africa Today, where we get you the latest news taking place on the African scene. And our main topic today will be the tripartite meeting held in Khartoum to discuss the Grand Renaissance Dam issue. And it's attended by ministers of irrigation and ministers of foreign affairs of the three countries, Sudan, Ethiopia, and Egypt. But we'll first have a look at this report and we'll be back. UN envoy Martin Kobler said on Sunday his team is in contact with security officials in Tripoli to ensure that Libya's new unity government can operate safely from the capital. More details in the following report.
The UN Security Council gave its backing to the new national unity government in embattled Libya, a move it hopes will help stem mass migration to Europe and reverse gains made by militants from the Daesh group. The 15-nation council gave its support to the deal signed last week in the Moroccan town of Shikrit between representatives of strife-torn Libya's two competing regimes. The United Nations envoy to Libya, Martin Kobler, is now working on arrangements to allow the unity government to safely set up shop in Tripoli, which is under the control of militia fighters. Libya has been in chaos since the 2011 uprising that toppled dictator Muammar al-Qaddafi, with armed factions battling for territory and control of its oil wealth. Its internationally recognized government was expelled from Tripoli in August 2014 and is based in the east of the country, while another body holds the capital. Around 80 of 188 lawmakers from Libya's internationally recognized parliament and 50 of 136 members of the rival Tripoli-based General National Congress signed the deal. The agreement calls for the 17-member government, headed by businessman Fayez El-Sarraj as premier, based in the Libyan capital. A presidential council would also serve for a transitional period of 2 years until elections.
Welcome back, and moving on to Central Africa. Long delayed elections in volatile Central African Republic that are key to ending years of brutal sectarian unrest were postponed Friday for 3 days until December 30. Details follow.
Long delayed elections in violent Central African Republic that were initially due this weekend has been postponed for 3 days until December the 30th. The postponement was due to problems sending ballot papers to election centers outside the capital, Bangui, a reflection of the difficulties the poor country faces as it struggles to return to peace and normality. It added that the election campaign, with 30 candidates vying for president, has also been extended to midnight Monday, December 28th. The authorities of the transitional government has proposed on Thursday to delay the elections to next week. Normally, the consultant court would need to approve changing the voting from Sunday, but given the holiday period, doesn't plan to meet. A decree from the country's transitional president is expected soon to officially confirm the new election date. The long-awaited elections are aimed at turning the page on the sectarian conflict that erupted after a mainly Muslim rebellion overthrew long-time Christian leader Francois Bouzizi in 2013.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're glad to be joined today at the studio with Mr. Mohammed Abdel Ghaffar, President, African Aid Council. Thank you, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you very much for you.
Sir, we've of course seen a number of meetings for the Grand Renaissance Dam being postponed, and of course a large number being held regarding the talks regarding the Ethiopian dam between Egypt, Ethiopia, and Khartoum or Sudan. But we haven't seen any solid solution or concrete solution, or we haven't seen that the three countries have reached a middle ground on the issue of the Grand Renaissance Dam. So how do you see this?
I can see that the main leaders of the three countries, the three presidents before they signed the treaty of Khartoum Treaty, which put like code of ethics to organize the efforts between the experts and the Minister of Irrigations in the three countries, and they guarantee the inherited rights for the Sudan and